Hey, welcome to 12 Tone. The development of jazz was one of the most important musical events of the early 20th century, but if you've listened to it, you may have noticed that jazz songs don't quite work like most other styles. Classical pieces build and develop throughout, while modern music tends to rely on clearly defined sections like verses, choruses, and bridges, but jazz songs seem to just keep repeating themselves. And yet they don't really sound stagnant, so what's going on? Let's look a little closer at what makes jazz jazz. If you had to sum up the entire style in one word, it'd probably be improvisation. In jazz, the actual written melody isn't really the point. It's a vehicle on top of which soloists can create new, unrehearsed music off the top of their heads. You'll probably never hear a jazz song played the exact same way twice, even by the same band. This gives it a huge amount of forward momentum because even if the form is repeating, everything else is always new. Jazz standards take on new life over decades or even close to centuries because every new artist who approaches them creates a different song. But there are standards, songs that any serious jazz musician knows and has played 100 times. They're the songs that define the genre, and they pretty much all look, well, kinda the same. And that's because most of them use the same basic form, the imaginatively titled 32-bar form. See if you can guess how long it is. 32-bar form works kind of like 12-bar blues, which we've covered previously. You write a progression, then you loop through those same 32 bars over and over again until you get bored and finish. These 32 bars are usually broken up into 4 groups of 8 bars, each of which is sort of its own self-contained section. It starts with what's called an A section, which just means it's the first one. This is the first statement of the song's primary melody and is usually the most recognizable part. Once we're done with that, we move on to another A section. That's right, it repeats. This helps emphasize the song's theme and identity. It usually has different lyrics and often ends slightly differently to set up the B section. This is sort of a musical palette cleanser with different chords, a different melody, and sometimes even a different key. This breaks up the repetition of the A section, so the more variation the better. And finally, we go back for a third A section. This brings back the themes and chords from the beginning and helps tie the whole song together. It usually ends with a turnaround, a big dramatic build to set up a return to the top of the form. This is the most common structure for 32-bar songs, and it's usually called AABA form. Other versions include ABAC and ABCD, which I assume you can figure out on your own. Harmonically, jazz songs are also rife with chord substitutions where you replace one chord with another one that functions similarly but has a more complex sound. For instance, in the key of D major, this G major triad and this E9 both set up in A7, but one of them sounds a lot fancier doing it. When you actually play the song, the first time through the form usually includes the official melody, either sung with lyrics or played instrumentally. The last time does too, building up to a big finish, often repeating the last line multiple times in what's called a tag. In between those, though, all bets are off. Players take turns improvising solos while the rest of the band accompanies them through the chord changes. You'll hear solos from traditional lead instruments like guitars, trumpets, and pianos, but also from the rhythm section including basses and drums. You may even hear vocal improvisation with nonsense syllables called scatting. In jazz, everyone gets a chance to shine. Everyone. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you want to help make these videos possible, please consider supporting 12 Tone on Patreon. You can also join our mailing list for scans of all our episodes, try the exercises to learn more, like, share, comment, subscribe, and keep on rockin'.